All right, guys, welcome to Looper Talk. I have a very special guest today, Erik Flores. He's a good friend of mine. We've played some mini tour events together. Very accomplished golfer. He's played on 5 different international tours. Well-accomplished college golfer. Played on UCLA's team. 4-time All-American and won a national championship with him. Is it 3-time?
Only
4-time?
3-time, but 4-time
3-time.
first team
Four-
Pac-10, back in the Pac-10
There
days.
you go. Right. So, in essence, very accomplished golfer. We are very lucky to have him on my podcast. And now he caddies. He's also a coach, player consultant. Basically, he wears a lot of hats, people. He's very good at what he does. He's a great gentleman to know. And yeah, he is. We've been talking off and on for the last 5 years through social media. So this has been a long time coming. And today, we're going to kind of speak about Anthony Kim and that story. That's going to be kind of intriguing for me and him. So, yeah, I'm excited. So, what do you think about the whole spiel with AK? What's your first initial thoughts, and I'll kind of pivot off those.
Well, bro, it's great to be on with you, and good to see your face. I know we mostly exchange reels these days, as most people are doing.
He's
And
red
some,
pill guys, so let him be.
yeah, red pill. I'm kind of a OG
Oh, yeah.
red pill scene.
Yeah.
But no, dude, I was just thinking real quick. We played together at I think it was like a Carolina Mountain Tour event.
Yes.
Those are fun
We
because
did.
I'm a California boy, born and raised, but I did move to Charlotte when I was playing Corn Ferry Tour. So I
Yeah.
moved there in like 2013,
Yes.
and then I stopped playing for a while. I had an injury and lost my card, and so I stopped playing for like 6, 7 years. It was
I
7 years between Corn Ferry starts, but I came back and kind of rekindled my career during COVID. And so I was just playing like literally whatever I could get into and play and
Mhm.
just like try to I literally played like 2 rounds of golf a year, no practice for 6 years.
Yeah.
And we got paired together in that Carolina Mountain Tour event. That was
Yeah.
pretty fun. That was a good time.
It was. My dad followed us the last few holes. I remember that. And you were like, you thought, what was the guy's name from Caddyshack? It's Brian. It's fuck. He wears the bucket hat and the boots. What's
Dude,
his?
you're talking about Bill Murray's
Yeah,
character?
yeah. You told me you were like, is your dad? Your dad's like that character from Caddyshack. I laughed so hard about that, dude.
Dude, I totally
I love that. That was because he is. He wears this little he wears this bucket hat that's camouflage, and then he has these Danner boots that are massive. And
yeah.
he's got a really flat foot, and he swears by them. And so he wears, if he has a chance to wear those boots, and I don't care if he's playing basketball, he would rather wear those boots,
Dude, that's
basketball
so
shoes.
fun.
Um,
That's well
I'm
good,
trying
man.
to,
Well, I mean, let's we'll talk some AK. I actually reached out to you. We'd been wanting to get on together.
yes,
I'm actually coming live right now. Well, maybe when you're watching this, I'm not live, but I'm currently in Vienna, Austria, where I live. So I'm kind of trying to get on the time change a little bit already. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind. So really, I wanted to talk about AK because I was just so psyched about his win,
right.
and I was kind of in a unique position where I was in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia last week for the Ladies European Tour PIF event. It was their kicking off their season. I was working for a player down there, Marta Sanz Barrio. Shout out to her, Spanish girl. But so I went down. They played the same course as Liv did right after them. So Liv
Okay.
was playing night golf at Riyadh Golf Club, and then we played. I mean, our practice round
Okay,
was
because you sent me pictures, and that's what I saw
yeah.
was a lot of the live, kind of the billboards in the stands.
Yeah, they were
Yeah,
they were changing stuff out. Honestly, the transition was crazy.
yeah.
Uh, really impressed with I mean, the amount of money they're putting into these events is crazy, and they literally changed over from Live to LET and like redid everything, redid the sponsors. And I was out there. I was out there Saturday night. I watched AK. This is the point of the whole thing. AK was paired with a friend of mine, Cameron Tringale, and then another guy I know, Surratt. So it was like my dream pairing because if I was picking 3 players to go watch, that's who I wanted to watch.
Wow.
Just because of my relationships, but also I wanted to see AK. Um, so I watched him play the final round. He shot 6 under,
Oh,
and he requalified for LIV, and he had a pretty good finish up in I think it was the Asian Tour, one of those other
Yeah.
international series events. So yeah, I mean, I just had that thought, and then he goes out to Adelaide this week and wins, and I mean, I have to say, like, everyone was pretty surprised. I was a little bit less surprised. I was still surprised because it's an amazing story and it's hard to win a golf tournament, by the way. It's even if it is a no cut, whatever 75 person field, which by the way, all of the signature events on the PGA Tour are doing the
Oh,
same thing.
don't get me started. Yeah.
I think maybe they're like 50 something players on live or something like that.
I think it's 55 to 60 players because they'll bring some wild cards in.
Right,
Uh,
right. A couple
right.
wild cards, which he
Yeah.
was a wild card.
The first event, right?
Right. He was a
Yeah.
wild card at Riyadh, and he'd been a wild card the
Yeah.
2 years prior, but he got signed by Dustin Johnson's crew with the Aces, replacing Patrick Reed. So that was pretty sick. Obviously, they saw the potential, and they saw his game was ready to actually be on a team and not being like a rogue kind of player who was, let's say, developing his game, redeveloping his game.
Right.
So yeah, I just think, I had really like three takeaways, and you can chime in really whenever you want. But from what I saw in Riyadh, like I just thought it translated really well. He had some beautiful bunker shots, putted pretty well, stripes it, bro. I mean, his swing is so pure. It's always been pure.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
and
it's a short, compact swing, which I think those swings do well under pressure because there's not as much moving parts. There's not as much sequencing that needs to be required as somebody like DJ, who's got a very kind of longer swing. I've always thought Anthony Kim has this kind of short, compact swing that's very repeatable, which makes total
yeah,
sense.
he's pure, man. And it's
Yeah,
this is good in person, and
I'm sure. Oh yeah.
they're even better. But I think the takeaways from Adelaide were one. This is the main takeaway, and I'm calling this the spirit of the game of golf.
Mhm.
Is that, dude? I mean, if you haven't seen the highlights yet, I mean, I'm sure if you're a golf fan, you're here and you're listening to this podcast. But if you haven't seen the highlights, just go watch the highlights. I mean, the dude shoots 9 under. He comes back by 5 against John Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau,
Oh
and
yeah.
plus the rest of the field there is playing golf too. And wins. Did he win by 2 or 3? I mean, it was
I think he
sick.
won by 3.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and he's burying putts and he's fist pumping. It was like Tiger highlights, but like it was every hole. You know what I'm saying? It was like, and he was just center cutting putts and just
He wasn't dying those fuckers in, dude. They had speed. There was a couple of those putts. I'm thinking that's if that don't hit the hole, that's 4 or 5 feet by.
dude,
He didn't give a shit, man. He
yeah,
was
the confidence is there,
yes.
and that's where I think he's dangerous. Is like he's always been a confident, like momentum player.
Yeah.
I believe in his career, and when he gets it going, and look out, and now that he's got a win under his belt, and he's
Oh yeah.
proven to himself that he can play against the world's best now again. And in some ways, he's probably better. I mean, he's clear headed. He's got a family. He has totally other reasons to live. He's sober. It's going to be fun to watch, man. I've got a lot of high hopes for him, but also just some expectations, like because I know he can do it. So yeah, so spirit of the game is what I want to talk about. The first thing was
Yeah.
because what we saw, like I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. What we saw like transcended the the live PGA Tour battle. Like I forgot I was watching a live event or a PGA Tour. Like it didn't matter anymore because his story and the way he was playing transcended those things. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
it was the spirit of the game. It was the spirit of competition that you knew that it mattered to him, not because of the title of the trophy or how much the winner's check was or where they were in the world. He was just playing golf, right?
Deeper. It was a
And
deep
he was
yeah.
doing it for, you could say, for the love of the game, but at the same time, he embodied the spirit of the game right there. And that gives me like goosebumps because I think that's something we've been missing in golf, with especially through this whole PGA Tour live battle. Everybody's posturing themselves, just bolstering purses, and changing fields to no cut events. And there's kind of like a 2, 3 tier system now on the PGA Tour with signature events. And it's hard to play your way out of those things, when you get no cut events and you're just getting automatic points. So it's kind of the rich get richer, and then they've got the PIP money, for the social media on tour, and somehow Tiger always wins that, even though he tweets 4 times a year. Which is
So like,
it's such a blatant payoff at this point in some of those categories. Of course, you got the PIF money, the Saudi money, bringing in Live Golf, and you know
which is
offering fat
also helping the
contracts.
PGA Tour, by the way.
What's that?
PIF is also helping the PGA Tour, by the way.
Yeah, well, they're I don't know all the total background stuff going on right now, but I'm just saying that we've seen this battle for the last
Yes.
3 or 4 years or 5 years. I don't know. As long as it's been now. It's
Yeah,
seen
2022, so it's been 4 years.
yeah, 4 years.
Yeah.
So, and I thought it would kind of be over by now, but I really see this as like one of those things where, this isn't just a story about a guy who, and this is not a knock on John Rahm or Bryson or those guys, because actually Bryson's actually been amazing for the game, and John's a great dude and an amazing player. But like, I think one of the things that, let's just say, the PGA Tour bro crowd had knocked on Live is like, they just don't want to watch a guy who just got $300 million contract, give or take, go win a tournament. Like, they're just not interested in that anymore. Let's just say it.
Yeah.
Whereas like a guy like Anthony Kim, he's a product completely different, where they dug this guy out of, I mean, he was a mythical creature for 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody knew where he was. Nobody knew what he looked like anymore. I mean, it was that long hair I hear. Like, he was quitting the game because of a lot of reasons, but a big reason was, his insurance policy, where he had a career-ending injury, and if he just never played again, he could collect on this insurance policy.
Right, we don't really know what the injury
Well, I mean,
still.
he did
Yeah,
hurt
why
his
it
thumb or
happened.
whatever. He
Yeah.
had an injury, but, he decided to, let's just say, maybe take an easier way out and just kind of fund a certain lifestyle and just kind of ride off into the sunset. And obviously there was other stuff going on behind the scenes maybe we didn't know about. I definitely didn't know about it. I knew he liked to party and stuff. I'd heard stories. I got a lot of mutual friends with him. But at the same time, like, Liv was able to give this guy a chance, not only to like say, hey, you have a place to play, but also take care of this insurance problem, like make it possible to where, like, dude, you can come back and I know he talked to the PGA Tour as well, and I don't know what those talks were like, but he obviously thought that Live was the best road for him. And yeah, I mean, it's
It's
kind of mind blowing, bro.
it is.
Like, it's
It
kind of
really
mind
is.
blowing to think, like, had they not created this league, like, we don't have this story. We don't see Anthony Kim back in the winner's circle. We don't have his whole story of redemption, and also just the encouragement that he's giving people, and like,
Yes.
the people are really like looking up to him
Oh,
in that
100%.
way. And he's not a guy who's like, oh, he's just such a good human being. He's perfect. He's never done wrong. Like, let's just say more of a Scotty Scheffler type, which I know he's not perfect. He definitely would never claim to be. But I actually got in a some guy was responding to me on social media today, like, as I said, AK is the best story in golf right now. It's not even close. And he was like, yeah, but Scotty Scheffler was a better story because, he didn't snort cocaine for 10 years and blah, blah.
But when a
And
guy
I'm like,
gets ran over and dies, he does nothing for that dude. He sits in the
yeah,
press conference and goes, "Well, what about me?" kind of mentality. And you're like, "Okay, the
what
God-fearing guy gets arrested, and that's more
I'm not trying
important."
to knock Scotty about it. I'm just saying that, like, I think that mindset is missing the point of what's going on here, because one, a comeback story is amazing, but a story of redemption, I would say AK is like prodigal son of golf.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if you know that story, there's brothers of his when he because the prodigal son comes back, and the father celebrates his return, even though he went out and ruined his inheritance and threw parties and did all these crazy things, right? Wasted his life in a way. And then he comes home and the father's like, I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah.
we're throwing a party for you. We're gonna kill the fattened calf and have a big dinner. And the brothers are looking at him like, yo, we didn't leave. We didn't squander our inheritance. And you never threw a party and killed the fat calf for us and got excited about it. And they're jealous about it, right?
Oh,
And so
dude.
like there's that spirit behind what this guy was saying. It's not Scotty. He's using that as an
Yeah, I
example.
know what you're saying. That metaphor is well said. Is perfectly said.
That's the story of the prodigal son. And so
Yeah.
like, some
Yeah.
people are not gonna be they're gonna be a little bit like, I don't believe it, or oh, he doesn't deserve. Bro, that's all hate. Don't listen to that. Like this redemption stories are I don't know. It's peak life, man. It's a peak human experience to watch that. So
This is what I think, which what you I think everything you have said is spot on. I don't disagree with anything you just said. Is very true
you're allowed
because
to.
right. Well, of course. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to bullshit you. But no, what you're saying is correct. And what I really think what's going on here is Americans especially need an underdog story. That's something that we feed off of because most of our country is a middle class citizen, right? And so we have to sacrifice a lot in our lives to get the little that we have. And like you said, the financial gap has gotten fairly large between the upper and middle class. And so what you're seeing is you're seeing a story that is not only motivating that middle class, it's motivating that middle class outside of golf because he does have a background that's hardships, hard life. He was in the trenches, made some bad decisions, kind of disappeared for a while, and then he was given an opportunity, and then he did the most out of that, and he worked his ass off to get that. And that is very appealing to a lot of us because that's a daily thing for most Americans is we have to wake up when we don't want to. We have to go do a job that most of us don't really enjoy doing. We have a family that we have to take care of, and there's a lot of sacrifice in doing that. And so when you see Anthony Kim's story and you listen to it and you see where he came from and what he's doing now, and that provides that emotional attachment that Americans thrive on. That's why we love the Jordan stories. That's why we loved the Kobe stories and like Dale Earnhardt and all that stuff. There's this personal element there that I think the PGA Tour has forgotten about because they have made the game more expensive to be a part of it, which has now taken away that element. And so when you have a situation like the Anthony Kim, kind of revitalizes all that and it reveals to places like the PGA Tour, like, okay, this is what Americans really want. I don't even think it's just Americans. I think it's the whole world themselves. We want these underdog stories. We feel more of an emotional connection to that. And so to pivot off everything, if the PGA Tour was smart, they would stop making professional golf so hard to be a part of. They would make it more accessible. That way we can have more of these underdog, hometown hero kind of stories because that's what Americans want. And that's what I think the world wants. And like you said, it's by far the best story in golf. And there's no question about it. We feel a part of it. We feel like we are him. And then, yeah, sure, he has a
Yeah.
lot of talent and he got those opportunities in the early 2000s. But to see that he came from these hardships and he overcame those and to see where he's at now, that is something that is, again, revitalizing. And what we can really take from that is we need to give more opportunities for people outside of this bubble and I think most of this is the problem in the United States. I think the European, and which please comment on this if I'm wrong, but I think the European, Australian, even the Asian cultures, they tend to give more opportunities for the vast majority of the people involved. But in the United States, if you really want to in today's world to have a legit chance at making the tour, and again, obviously we have talent. That's very obvious. Everyone's got to have a certain amount of talent before we get into the bubble. I get that. But we have a lot of people in this country that are super talented, but they don't have the access to get on that stage to even give themselves a chance. And what people don't realize is that performing at a professional level, just because you know how to shoot 62 at your home course when you show up to these tournaments, it's a little bit it's a learning curve. You have an element of consequence. You have a lot of underlying factors that you wouldn't have playing high school golf or even college golf. And so sometimes it takes people a while to bloom. And like you saw Peter Uline, right? He never did well on tour, but then Liv gave him an offer and he kind of was secure financially, I feel like. And then he started playing well. I don't think it was some like, oh, he's playing with Liv, he's playing against shitty players. That is not the case. I think he just figured it out later. And I know he's a Titleist guy and he's came from a decent amount of money, but professional golf is not this as simple as, okay, I can just show up to a tournament and do well. There's a lot of emotional learning. There's a lot of underlying stuff that you have to come to grasp with. And so I think the public wants is we want to see people that come from a middle class family that didn't really grow up at a country club, maybe grew up on a muni course, was at a public range most of the time. I think that's why like the Tin Cup stories and the Happy Gilmore, I think that's why those movies are so appealing to people because there's this underlying motive there of like, hey, this is a dude grew up on a range, was hitting off dirt shit lies, barely making it by, never had really any money. He was just scrapping away and he figured out how to do it. And it's like, well, man, this dude came from the trenches like me and it
Yeah,
just
he's one of
revitalized.
us.
Yeah. And
He's
it
one of us. That's what
revitalizes you.
everyone. Yeah, that's all. That's a big thing that people say online. Like, oh, he's one of us. Anytime a tour player shanks it or
Yes. Right.
you know
Right.
does whatever, it's like, oh, he's one of us.
Yes.
Because what does it do? It humanizes
Yep.
the people that you're watching on TV, and that's the element that people love. And going back to AK, he's a very human person. Had his struggles. He's very vocal online,
Mhm.
and he's got his mantras, his 1% better.
Yep.
And I mean, I love it, dude. I mean, like I do got a few points kind of broadly brushing over some things that you said came to my mind. But one is I think one of the things that as a player and a person who loves the game that has sickened me about the PGA Tour is that they act like they own golf, right? And they gatekeep a little bit for sure. I
And
mean, you look at the costs of Q schools, you
yep.
look at the amount of like exemptions they're giving out and who they're giving them to, et cetera, et cetera. And I know like there's a bottom line and there's a top dollar, but you brought up a really good point with the culture is that most countries they have federations that develop players, they get them into tournaments, they pay their travel expenses, they
Yep.
do stuff like that. We don't have a federation. And to your point, and I can speak to this very, very clearly because I played in Europe. That's why I'm living here now. Of course, I met my wife Michaela here while I was playing an event in Vienna and essentially just never left.
Yep.
But
God bless you, dude.
uh yeah, I know. When you know, you know, you
Yeah,
know.
that's it,
So
dude.
and that's an amazing story too in itself. The challenge tour, so that would be like the Corn Ferry of the DP World Tour, the European Tour. The challenge tour, they have guess how many invites every week? An 152 player field, 156 player field. Guess how many invites they're going to get?
Does that mean like basically exemptions, like people just get in for man? I mean, and they're paying their way for these invites,
Uh,
or like a status deal, like the PGA.
the challenge tour isn't paying their way, but let's just say if you're from a federation, like they're probably helping you out a decent amount.
Man, is it over half?
It's not half, but it's 50.
Oh, that's amazing.
50 invites every week. Now, at first, I was like kind of pissed because I was like, well, I'm a member. I'm not going to get in as many tournaments or whatever, whatever. But then you kind of, and I called the tour about it just to learn more about what they're doing. I called the head of the tour, Jamie Hodges, great guy. And he kind of explained to me like how the system works over here. And essentially, the tour runs because when the tour has an event, let's say in Italy,
Yeah.
okay, they have like one or two events, I think, right now. Then the federation hosts that event. They sell the sponsorships for it. They do a lot of the legwork, right? They're basically putting on the event for the challenge tour on a lot of levels. Obviously, challenge tour has their own staff as well too,
Okay.
but they kind of what's the right word delegate it to every federation, and so in turn, the federation receives 50 invites to their own event. And what they end up doing is they trade with all the other federations from the other countries for their events. So, hey, I'll give 5 to Spain, and therefore Spain gives me 5 for my federation players.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'll give 5 to the German federation. Germany now, the tournaments they host, they're going to give me 5. So now they can spread around. Now you're only allowed 7 invites every
Right.
season this way, plus your home event. So you can get 8.
Okay.
And if your country hosts 2 events, you have to choose which one of those that so you get 8 a year if you have a federation. Now that's great for the Europeans and it's great for their system. And I'm totally fine. Now I'm an American. I have no federation and we don't host an event
No.
to trade spots for. So I don't get any of these spots. But it's still a great system. And that's just how, I mean, I wouldn't say it's great. No system's perfect, but
Right.
because
But at
there's
least
down.
they're trying. They're trying to give opportunities to
Oh no,
people.
and yeah, and they
Right.
have that mentality like, "Hey, we know this guy's not good enough to win, but he needs the experience." And that's kind of the other thing that you were talking about is there is a financial aspect to this because the more finances you have, the longer runway you have to develop your game.
Yes.
Because there was times I'm a totally blue collar family guy, like my parents did amazing things just to get me to be able to play national events when I was a junior in order to get a scholarship. Like that was the way they thought about it was we'll pay the money now, but if he gets a scholarship, then it was worth it, right? It was an
Right.
investment.
Yep.
And so it was kind of like they paid for my school through the golf. But that was a huge sacrifice. That was like a big deal. And as I get older,
100%.
wow, that's crazy they did that. So
You're
very
talking
fortunate,
late 90s, early 2000s too,
bro.
boys. This is
We're
not.
talking 1900s, bro. It's a peak. 1990s were peak.
Yeah.
Oh, the runway for players, when I came out of college, it was like, bro, you better get through Q school because you might not get another chance. You know what I mean? It's too expensive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I missed my first Q school and I was devastated. Really, I was
Oh yeah.
devastated. And I took a year off of golf. I was actually super like pissed about it, but I was also burned out and yada, yada, yada. And I had another crazy connection with Cameron Champ, who was like a protege to me. He was younger than me, but I mean, I've got pictures of Cameron when he's like this big. Now
Oh,
he's
that's
like
amazing.
a big man, but we had the same swing coach growing up, and he introduced me. Cameron introduced me. I should say Cameron's dad, because Cameron was still, I think, in college at the time, or just starting to get to college at this time of my life. And he's a Sacramento boy, which is near where I grew up. And we went out and played just a fun round together. And his dad brought this guy out who had backed Natalie Golbis. And so let's just say we just played around, didn't know this guy who he was, and he took an interest in me and was like, "Hey, what's going on?" Like he actually took a second to care. Like I almost cried when this guy talked to me the first time because he said some stuff that was just like cutting straight to my soul. Like, well, this guy knows. He knows what's going on. And he was
100%.
like a self-made guy that owns like Burger Kings and some strip malls and stuff. And so, anyways, he ended up helping me out, and that's why I got a second chance at playing again. I should say, like this is like 2011,
Oh,
so a
right
couple
on.
years after college, and I ended up uh, missing my big tour card. This is back when you could qualify for the PGA Tour,
Yeah.
25 spots. I missed by a shot at finals.
Oh my God, dude.
And so that landed me on Corn Ferry. I
Yeah.
still lose sleep, bro, over that a little bit because I was playing with dude, that was pretty wild times. Can I deviate about this?
Oh,
Can
you
I
can you
talk about that?
go to town, dude. This is what my channel is about. This is perfect. This is what people need to hear. And it's like coming
So
from the mouth of the player, right?
yeah, no, I mean it's I was fortunate to be paired with David Duval and Daniel Chopra for now when you do pairings there, they pair you for 2 rounds and then you kind of reshuffle. But I
Okay.
ended up playing 3 rounds with David Duval. And he's former world number one. He's David Duval.
Yeah,
At the
right.
time, this is 2011, so I think he was like trying to get a better number. He still had career lifetime status and stuff. If you don't know how it all works, like you're trying to get a better number, so he's going to get more starts. So he was playing final stage at Q School, and I was in the middle of the fairway. I think they just played PGA West Stadium course
Yeah.
on the American Express. So this is PGA West Stadium course, and I think it's like hole 12 it's a short iron and then just like a flip wedge, but it's totally blind because there's like hills in front of it. And I'm sitting there and I'm in the middle of the fairway and I added instead of subtracted 10 yards and I hit it over the green and made double bogey.
Oh
And now
my,
this is like round 3 or 4 or something like that. It's kind of in the middle, so it seems a little bit less consequential. But to make an error like that in
oh,
that
I
stage,
know, dude.
and then to miss by one the
Yeah.
last day, I was actually playing with Tom Hoagie the last
Oh
day,
yeah, right on.
and
That's a
he got
name
his
right
corn.
there.
Yeah, he got his Corn Ferry card the same time I did. So you missed by one for the big tour, but that landed me on the Corn Ferry tour, which was a little bit different, but also needed. I mean, it's a step you need to take. Unfortunately, never graduated out of there. But yeah, that was like a total side story. But I
It's
do lose
kind of
sleep over that addition over subtraction shot, and it's one of those things where it's blind, right? So like your
yeah.
depth perception isn't there to help you. Like that just doesn't look right. Let's redo that.
Yeah, because you're
Uh,
just thinking it is what it is. This is the number,
yeah,
I got to hit it, right?
yeah. I hit it in the back bunker, and
And people
that
don't,
was
and this, I'm for if you're an amateur watching this, please understand this is why professional golfers are fucking crazy. Okay, because in a four
uh,
round tournament, to make it, it literally is one bad swing away from you completely ruining all your progress from 3 to 4 rounds in. That's why golfers at that level are nuts. That's why they get really pissed off because you have to literally focus for 4 to 5 hours a day for 3 to 4 days straight, and you cannot fuck up. I mean, yes, you
well,
can hit bad shots and you can get away with them, but you have to keep it in a realm where you're like, okay, I'm 30 feet, I can two putt for par. That's fine. I know it was a birdie opportunity. I'm not going to worry about it. Hit an iron shot that wasn't that great. Fine. But if you make a double bogey during this situation, I'm not saying you have to press. Obviously, it shouldn't, but I tell people all the time the mental capacity of a professional golfer throughout those situations is comparable to again, I'm speaking, I don't have any experience on this, but from what I caddied for a guy who's a Navy SEAL, and he says he loves this because it reminds him of because he was a sniper. And he says, when you're out on the battlefield and you got the gun and you're looking through your scope, he's like, you cannot lose focus at all. You have to stay in the moment and in the minute you lose a little bit of focus, that could cost you everything that you have. And I feel like I know golf is just a plastic ball or being a sniper rifle is a whole different ball game, but the mentality is so similar to that. And it's why I love golf, but that's why these guys on tour and the Corn Ferry Tour, that's why they're very sensitive in the moment because they have so much developed into it, especially on Saturday and Sundays. Like on Sunday, if a guy needs to get a top five to maintain something, and he's on the 16th hole, and he happens to, like you said, add 10 instead of subtract 10, and now he's in a up and down spot where it's all he can do to make bogey. Well, that one little mistake could really push the envelope of, okay, I just lost my opportunity. Now, you can come back and all that. There's obvious statements there, but it's so fascinating the amount of focus you have to have and the sensitivity of the situations. I've
yeah,
always
I know it's
factual.
super high pressure, that's for sure,
It
and
really
that's
is.
why not everybody gets their tour card, and you
Well,
know what I mean?
and like,
But
dude,
it's
the
tough to
thing
do.
is, you're a very accomplished player. We know, as anyone who knows who's played professionally, the difference between a tour player and somebody like yourself is a couple putts. That's really it. We're not talking
Or a
like,
few more fairways hit in my
yeah,
case.
yeah, right. Oh, yeah, right. There you go. We're not talking like we're dealing with like, okay, these tour guys are just 12 shots better than the Corn Ferry guys. Like, it's like, no, you
No
could
way.
grab a couple of these Corn Ferry guys right now, throw them in this next PGA Tour event. You could probably even throw them in a signature event. And I would almost bet that most of them don't finish last place.
No
Again,
way. I mean,
because it
totally right.
depends on the day, right?
Buddy Scheffler, who came from the Corn Ferry Tour relatively, no,
Not
I
that
mean, within
not
no
that
name,
long ago.
just
Yeah.
not that long ago. Or Will Zalatoris. Will Zalatoris qualified for the US Open and then goes out and what, like takes second or third? and then
100%.
plays on the tour.
Yep.
Uh,
That's just how it
you know,
goes. And
and
that's the
he was a Corn Ferry Tour player.
Yep,
So no, I would
exactly.
say the level you're talking about, the difference between guys, I would say what's one thing Scotty's doing like really well right now, and why he's so dominant, and also Tiger was so dominant, is that they're so much better than the number two guy that it's crazy. What
Yep.
was that stat recently? I think
300 points or
Scotty,
some shit between the 2?
well, I forget what the difference between Scotty and Rory was. The same difference between Rory, who's number two, to
Yes.
like number 70 something or
Yes.
something.
Yeah, the amount of you're talking about the OWGR, which
Yeah,
speaking of
points.
gatekeeping, they are the queens of gatekeeping, that organization.
Oh yeah, that's
They
brutal.
that's
Yeah,
brutal there. I didn't realize on the governing board what you have there. That to me is just fascinating, but that's a whole different topic. But
that's a whole different topic. But
yeah,
no, so yeah, the difference between Corn Ferry and PJ Tour, like PJ Tour is deeper, yada yada yada, but the ball doesn't know who's hitting it, and
mm,
the holes cut the same size
yeah,
everywhere in the world, and that's what I love about golf. And again, the ball didn't know Anthony Kim was hitting it, right? And that's why it's so cool to see this guy win. Going back to
yeah.
AK, because that's what this is really about. But that's the game, man. That's the spirit of the game. And it just, to me, like, it just embodied that. And you see the rawness, you see the excitement, the, like I said, transcendent moment, really.
It's gonna be good for
That
Liv. I think Liv's going to get a good push from this, and it's gonna
oh,
force the
for sure.
PGA Tour to have to make some decisions because they tried to do the Brooks thing. The Brooks thing's not really working. And I feel bad for Brooks because the PGA Tour is not like it was when he left. The young guys now are a little more hungry. You got guys hitting the ball a little bit further, and it's not like you can't just show up and make cuts and thinking you can shoot 2 or 3 under nowadays. It's a little different game now. And so I know they tried to bring him in. I don't know why, but maybe for some relevance or try to get some clout going. Because I know the PGA, in my opinion, I know the PGA Tour is trying to rekindle a flame that's dying in a way. But I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
maybe not. I think they're just trying to maintain something. I don't know, because if you look at the viewership, basically what happened, in my opinion, is the Tiger era, it inflated things so fast and the demand got so high that they kind of rode that ship in. And now that Tiger's not there, they're still trying to maintain these same business practices. And it's obviously I mean, and I think with the new owner or the new CEO, I think they're saying that the viewership's starting to kind of peak or starting to spike a little bit again, and that's great. I'm not wishing bad on the PGA Tour. I hope they maintain, but I am a little nervous for them now because now that we have the Anthony Kim story and Live Golf and I don't think Anthony Kim's going to, and no offense to them, I don't think the PGA Tour is going to be able to acquire him. I think he is very loyal. He's going to be much more loyal to Live now because they gave him this chance and they believed in him. And now he's provided the story that, like you said, even if Scotty wins the US Open, I don't think it's going to touch the story. There's no way. I mean, yeah, maybe almost a parallel situation because Scotty Scheffler wins a Grand Slam, and that's great for golf. But I mean, again, like we said, the emotional attachment, the deeper underdog story that Anthony Kim provided for the world, that's gonna be really hard to touch in this year. And I think Anthony Kim's gonna be much more loyal to Live. And so now you're gonna have some golf fans that weren't watching Live are now going to start watching Live just because of the situation, and that's going to really help them out. And so if they keep, and this is the thing that people don't realize, this is, and I've been telling people this, these young guys are like the Elvis Smiley, the Sasso dude, like Caleb Surratt even.
yeah,
Uh,
Tom McKibben.
yeah, right. They're getting handed financial security before they even step out on the course, and you and I both know if I'm on a golf course and I have a 7-figure number in my bank account before I start playing, I'm going to be a lot more adamant to one, play my game, and two, I'm not going to have to think I have to absolutely have this pressure to make a cut so I can make a paycheck. These guys are already feel
Yeah.
like they're financially taken care of. So it's going to,
You've got a longer runway. You've
yeah,
got a
exactly. That runway, exactly. And
Yeah, you've
so
got a longer runway now.
And what's going to happen is the younger guys are going to get more and more attracted to that business model, and eventually Liv is going to pick up a young dude that is going to flourish. It's going to bloom, and it's going to be just like, okay, this dude's the real deal. And I'm almost tempted to say this Elvis guy I mean, he's solid. As a very solid
Yeah,
player.
what's the Spanish guy who won the USAM? He played. Everyone
Jose
was,
Ballister.
yeah, dude, that
Yeah,
guy is sick, man.
he's solid
And
too. I'm
and
telling you.
we'll see. The right now though, the official world golf rankings is holding them back
Yep.
because we're not going to be able to see some of these guys playing majors because of
No,
the official
no.
golf.
Which they can still
Um,
qualify for the U.S. Open, right? And if they
well,
is
you can
some
still qualify. You can still qualify for the U.S. Open and the British Open,
right, and then
or
on the
or
tour too, right? And maybe get a top 5 or top 2 and get a Masters invite,
if
maybe.
you're at certain events, I
Yes.
believe you can do that. But and and this is actually another topic I wanted to talk about with AK because it was about the majors
Yeah.
because Joaquin Neiman, he got a Masters invite
Yes.
based on Live. Now, I think he also won the Aussie Open
Yes.
that year, which, and I could totally be wrong about that. I know he did win it, but it might not be the same year. He won like 3 or 4 Live events one
Yes.
year or in a row or something like that. He was crushing it.
He was
And
absolutely on fire that year. Yeah.
yeah, and the Masters was like, "Hey, we're making a special invite."
Yeah.
And that was based on merit. I don't think, everyone knew he was a great player. He deserved to be there.
Yeah.
And I think winning the Aussie Open got him in the Open Championship.
Yes.
That's an exemption straight away from their own tournament. So, which that was a DP World Tour event, but it's a very historied event, the Aussie Open.
It
Just
is.
like the Argentina Open also gets you into the Open, the British
Oh,
Open,
that's awesome. Okay.
because it's for like about 50 years. These are like some grandfathered in things. So you'll
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
some guys go down and play that just for that reason. But no, I think Phil Mickelson came out with a tweet and basically said like, "Hey, I would love to see AK in some majors this year. I think they should give him some exemptions." And for those of you who don't know, the majors are cool because they're still above the fray of this whole battle. Now they're a little bit beholden to the official world rankings, which is skewed. However, they still have the ability to just make their own decision and decide somebody who they want to be in the field. They could just make up a category for whatever they want, right? And nobody really can say anything to them. You might get a few players complaining, but not really. I mean, I don't think anybody. I mean, people might complain, but I don't know that any players would complain to the masters directly that they don't think. Let's say they give AK an exemption for the masters, which I think they probably will. I really have a good feeling about that just
Yeah.
over this, and not because of merit. Like, let's say Joaquin Neiman, who was winning a bunch of stuff, but because of the spirit of the game. To me, there's also more important things than just winning golf tournaments. It's also storylines and the people would love AK to be there. I mean, people would
Oh
be
yeah.
going crazy. I mean, I would love it. And so, and like that's what the Masters is about. In a lot of ways it transcends the politics of golf and has continued to do that even through this whole live PGA Tour battle. So I think there's a good chance for that. And if he does get an exemption for the Masters, you got to think that maybe a few of the other majors might follow suit and do the same thing. But I wouldn't totally hold my breath on some of that. If he wins again or 2 more times, for sure he'll get in, maybe even a few of the majors. But I think at this point, you could say that he'll get in the Masters. We'll see. I could totally be wrong. I'm okay with that. If you wanna
No,
if you want
I
if
was
you
gonna
wanna
say
DM me later, not you, but somebody out there listening wants to DM me later, tell me I'm an idiot.
me.
Let's just that you're more than welcome to do that. But
Yeah,
no,
I'm trying to think if I think the only issue people would think of that is the Masters is basically inviting AK because they're trying to coattail his story and for their own relevance. But then again, I would say, well, the Masters doesn't need relevance. It's
no,
like the Lamborghinis of the cars, dude. It doesn't need advertisement. The Masters will always be watched. I don't care who or what kind of golfer you are. You know it's Masters week. We
I agree.
look forward to Masters week. And like you said, it would be very appealing to see him at that stage, whether it's based off merit or not. It's at least a story that is appealing for us, and that would create some viewership for them. But they don't need that viewership, but he does deserve chances at bigger stages now because he has proved himself this past week. And so, yeah, I don't think why not. I don't think the U.S. Open or the PGA Championship would happen. Which who wants to get invited to the PGA Championship, anyways?
Well, he could always go through the Open qualifying for US Open and the Open.
Yeah, 100%. That exactly.
Let's just say this is another side story real quick, is that if you play well enough at the Masters, like let's say Patrick Reed did last year,
That's
who took 3rd or whatever, dude, a top 3 at the Masters will get you in every I don't know exactly the criteria, but definitely top 3.
I think
If
top
not
5
e
gets you in all the
e
majors, right?
yeah, it gets you in all the majors no matter what. So, like, that's kind of why some of the bigger names like Bryson and Rahm and Cam Smith, you know, or Brooks Koepka even, because of major championships in the recent
I think
few
it's a
years.
5-year exemption.
Yeah, that's why
One of those.
that's comfortably go play live, but still get in all the majors regardless of how far their world ranking drops down.
Right. Um,
Um,
that's yeah. And that I agree. I think it would be in the best interest for the fan base of the golf world to
yeah,
see
and it's not
AK
like
and more events that were
right.
yeah.
It's to me, it's not a dog and pony show anymore. At first, I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, Liv's just trying to do this and get Anthony Kim," and other people were like actually excited about it because they knew how talented he was, and
So yeah.
they knew like, bro, we would love to see him back. I mean, I still remember the time he drummed Sergio in the Ryder Cup, 5 and
When
4.
when he was at
Fist
Tiger's
pump,
team, it was yeah, Tiger was in his
yeah,
prime too, dude. That was a
dude.
great team.
I mean
Yeah,
that,
that gives
that
me chills because that was probably one of our last Ryder Cup teams that I was like, okay, we're not fucking around this year, boys. This is a team
yeah,
that is ready.
and that's the type of guy. That's the type of, again, pure
I think David
raw.
Duval's on that team too, wasn't he? Wasn't it?
I don't remember. All I know is that I could just remember AK stuffing it to 10 feet every hole and just
Oh,
burying putts and just fist pumping all over Sergio.
oh man, I know. I think this is exactly what needs to be said. AK is kind of rekindled a flame in the golf world that has been sort of dying out, mostly for Americans. I think the European stuff maybe is a little different, but I think in terms of American golf, professional golf has been, I think it's slowly dying, but then again, I think maybe it's just at a static point because like Scotty Scheffler's not that appealing to watch. God bless him because he's a very talented player, but
I,
the personality and all that behind him and where he came from is it's just hard for the masses of America to get behind that because it's sort of like he's had a privilege and then he got like you said his runway was already long way before he even got the chance based upon his financial incomes and his family situation, but that's not the point. He is a very solid player. He has earned everything that he has had. We can't take that away from him, but Americans want to see that underdog, the David Goliath situation, and AK kind of rekindled that flame. And so that would be really nice for him to, yeah, to go up against these PGA Tour guys. And then, and my thing is, if Anthony Kim did show up in the Masters and gets like a top 10, I mean, that alone would just be, I don't even, he doesn't, I'm not saying a win by all means, but just to see him in the top 10 in one of the final 4 groups, dude, that would just be like him playing, Jordan Spieth or somebody like that or whoever, a Tommy Fleetwood even or whatever. You're watching Anthony Kim, the shirt's kind of half tucked. He's saying fuck on the microphone and he's not really giving a shit. And you're like, okay, this dude's a dog. I'm loving this. I love where he's at emotionally outside of the golf course because there was a video about his team and they went to some brewery or some wine tasting thing in Australia and he wasn't there with him. And I'm like, well, yeah, because he's sober. He doesn't want to be around that shit. And so you're thinking, like, okay, well, whatever. And you're like, no, dude, this dude, he is so ingrained to who he is. There's not enough money or any opportunity that's going to change his outlook on life. He is who he is. It is what it is with him, and that's appealing to me because that to me is like he's a real dude. He's gonna
Yeah.
tell you what it is. He's gonna be himself no matter who he's around, and to kind of see these guys outside of their element, it's really cool. Especially like Anthony Kim, I would assume. I heard nothing but good things about him. He's a really nice guy. He talks to people all the same way. He's rooted in what he believes in. He's a good father, obviously. He's a recent father, so that's kind of his mo now, and that's more important to him. And those are the stories that we need in golf. That's kind of where I'm hoping it trends, and I'm hoping for Live Golf to sort of explode from this. I'm hoping they can kind of compete with the PGA Tour a little bit better and start to see some positive income go their way. And because then I think that will force the PGA Tour to change their product a little bit. Um,
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have already tried to change, and unfortunately, I'm not sure that it's, 1, super sustainable, but 2, it's not actually making it better or opening up the game, with these signature events and no cuts and things like that. I'm fine with no cuts, but the problem is that it ends up being this, like, elite club, and it's very difficult to play your way in. Essentially, you gotta win another tournament, which, okay, that's fine. Winning is everything, I get that, but it's like a two-tiered system.